Why did I leave the brick and mortar for a cloud-based real estate agency? I'm Dan Lucier with eXp Realty, and this is my story of why I left the traditional brokerage model of brick and mortar and moved over to eXp, which is a cloud-based brokerage. So I've been doing real estate for almost 11 years now, and I started off my career with a traditional brick and mortar. I do not move around very much. In the last 11 years, this is my third brokerage and last. I'm pretty happy here. I don't see myself going anywhere anytime soon. So I'm not a hopper of brokerages. However, in the beginning, I started with a brokerage that was recommended by a friend. I really didn't know much. I just got my license. Now, a little bit backstory. At the time, I had 3 children. I was married with 3 children with 1 on the way, so make it 4. So I was a family man. I had a W-2 job. I worked in an aluminum factory for 20 years. And before that, I was a mechanic. I worked on cars since I was 10. And so I've had pretty much a W-2 job my entire life. I go in, they tell you what to do, you do it, you get paid, you go home by the weekend, and that's the end of that. Traditional job. So fast forward, I've always wanted to get my real estate license, and I never really did. And then I decided, maybe it's time. It was in a pretty good, comfortable spot. I was learning a lot. So in 2015, I went and passed the test, got my license, and I decided that because I was on the night shift of my job, why not I do both? I get to work at night and do real estate during the day. This was exhausting, by the way. However, I did that for the first 2.5 years, 2.5 years or so. I did both. And it was difficult. Trying to get clients, I fell into the let's hire a coach for $10,000, Mike Ferry, which I did do. And that was not for me. I am not a salesperson in that regard, in that way of doing things. I felt really weird about doing it that way. It was very forceful on people for me, and I just didn't like it. So in the beginning, I was doing the Mike Ferry, the Brian Buffini, my broker at the time. He said, hey, you just got to go talk to people. And I'm okay with that. And cold call, door knock, hold open houses, send out mailers. It was a ton of work. But I did it. I dabbled. That was my problem. I was dabbling in everything. And I got work from it. I got leads. I got clients. I closed transactions with, my first listing came from a guy that I worked with at the aluminum factory. So that was really cool. He gave me a shot. I did sell the house way under what I thought it was worth. But I learned. And one of the things that I found really quickly, and this goes for me personally. So I was brand new and I was already reaching the top of the leaderboard within that office. And when some of the numbers came out and it showed, I was doing really good and I was getting to the top of the numbers of that particular brokerage. And I was like, wow, okay. If I'm going to grow, I need to surround myself with people who are not only smarter than me, who are also looking to grow. And for that reason, I made a decision to go with a brokerage in my town that was very well known here in Connecticut. So I made a switch after about 2.5 years of being the first one. Made a switch to that one, and they came with a lot of promises, technology and we got this great CRM. You can market yourself. You can be your own brand. We have these branding things, and they did. No bad things to say about that. They did what they said at the time. The technology, I thought, but I was new, was really good. And I enjoyed my time there. And I spent 8 years there. I worked my way up. My business every year got a little better. The broker there, she was, she was great. That's probably one of the hardest things when I left was breaking it to her. But the broker was the brand. Even though I was allowed to brand myself, all our websites looked the same. The CRM wasn't worth it. It didn't do the things that I was looking to do. And AI had just started coming out, which I saw as a huge opportunity as a tool to help free up my time so I could spend more time with my family and doing the things that I wanted to do. Because this business, when you get into it, you're working 7 days a week. You are, your schedule is so hard to work on. One of the hardest transitions for me is I go from all these years of somebody telling me what to do to now I have to figure out what to do on my own. I got really good at just, all right, here's a problem, solve it. Okay. And I did. But now I had to do everything. So, getting support in that realm was challenging. The way that the structure works is, and it's the same old thing. They tell you to do the same old thing, mailers, door knocking, do open houses, do floor time, do this, do that. And it seems like a broken record. For 10 years, I heard the same thing over and over and over. And all those things probably work for some, but they weren't working for me. I saw AI and social media as a way of the future to not only give the client a better journey, but to give myself more tools to help me free up more time of my own time, not only to help my clients, but to help me have a clearer head, if that makes sense. So I remember the day in the brick and mortar, that I was the trainer for technology, one of the trainers, and I decided to do something on AI. And during that meeting, I was looking around, I was explaining something about ChatGPT. Everybody in the room had these blank faces on, like, this isn't for me, or, it's the vibe that I got. I wasn't getting the feedback or the engagement that I was looking for. And I said, something's not right here. This is the future. I need to find people who are smarter than me at this, and I need to put myself in front of them, because that's the way you're going to grow. I felt like I was at a flat line for production. So I started looking into different models. eXp was one that I knew was the oldest cloud-based model. I knew there was others, but there was two particular people as far as sponsors that I was looking at, and it was Mike Sherrard and Ricky Carruth. I spent months researching both of them. Which group did I want to be a part of? And it came down to the two of them. And I did hear from other agents that your sponsor is super important. And I was like, okay, I need to take my time and research this. So I did for months. Finally, I set up a call with Mike and told him my biggest struggles was my schedule. He was great. He's like, I'm not going to be good. Mike was great at social media, which was another pillar that I wanted to do. And the way the structure is set up, he hooked me up with Louis Galt, who I did not know before this, but it turned out to be the best relationship for me, being under Louis and the rest of Carbon Collective, because they were masters at schedules. They were masters at time management, which I needed help so bad. If you come from a 9-to-5 into a 1099, you're going to need help with time management, because people will rob you of it if you let them. So coming on board and seeing all the things that were offered by coming and partnering with them, I couldn't say no. I was like, all right, great. And I know eXp, the recruiting and all that. I knew about it. They told me about it briefly because they knew that wasn't my focus at the time. And I said, okay, well, maybe down the road, but right now I want to get my production in line. No problem. No pushiness, nothing. Love it. Joined up for the first year. My production really increased about 35%. And a lot of that had to do with me, not them. I had to understand that I needed to contribute and I needed to pour into them to get, for the reciprocation, which I loved because it forced me to engage and show up every week on the calls. And then I went to eXpCon for the first time last year. And I met everybody. And I was not ready for what happened. It was literally like a family. Agents that had nothing to do with the Wolfpack or Carbon Collective took me out to dinner, showed me, it was incredible. I've never been welcomed so well ever. I don't even know the words to describe it. By the end, I was like on cloud 9. That was in October of last year. I'm still working off of that because now I meet these people in person. I see them every day or every few days on Zoom. And now I have this relationship and I want to start talking about that because I want to partner with agents that are looking for that type of environment. And I think this is the best opportunity to get that word out that it does work. And I'm not the one, I'm one that I have to try it before I can get in front. This is not scripted. This is me freewheeling it here. I got no prompter on, no nothing. This is just my words. So just to reiterate, I left the brokerage, the brick and mortar, to go to eXp. I tell you to take your time, interview people. My contact information is in the description below. With co-sponsorship now at eXp, the benefits are even more. I am going to do a full deep dive into eXp Explained, which will be a separate video. And that will give you an insight to not only the company, but our group, Carbon Collective, and the Wolfpack, which you would be part of. So, any questions? Leave them in the comments. Did you make the switch to eXp? Put your comment below. What did you think? How was your experience? Mine has been amazing from day one. Thanks for hearing me out. Thanks for listening to my story. Hope to see you again soon. We'll see you in the videos down below. Have a good one.